Making bread in mixed numbers. So you start off with warm water and yeast and let that yeast activate, and when it's done you can add in salt, sugar, stir it up, and then we're going to add, in my case, some wheat flour and regular white flour. Once you've included all your ingredients, there's a lot of stirring that happens, and then you're going to see that the flour, when it mixes in with the liquid, thickens up, and when you're done stirring, it should be all kind of sticking together, and then you need to knead the bread. And kneading wakes up the yeast even more so that it'll rise and your bread will be nice and fluffy. Once you've kneaded it enough, you let it sit in a warm place, and then it will grow. You can see it's much larger now. Punch it, and now I'm going to form it into the bread loaves. When I'm making the bread loaves, I want to knock all the air out of it because I'm going to let the bread rise again in the bread pan before I bake it. Alright, I've let it rise again. I'm going to put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 50 minutes. So here's a bread recipe, and I want to know how many total cups of flour are used in this recipe. To find the total, I need to add the total number of cups of wheat flour, which is 4 3/4, and 3.5 cups of white flour. And in this case, my two mixed numbers, the fraction part, have different denominators. So to find the correct denominator so that we can add them, we find the least common multiple of 4 and 2. Quick way of doing that, you can skip count by 4s and 2s, and you find the first multiple that's the same, which in this case is 4. Now we're going to rewrite the problem. Well, 4 3/4 already has a denominator of 4, plus 3 and something out of 4. Well, we change a half to out of 4, we multiply it by 2, so it becomes 2/4. Well, the whole numbers add up to 7, and 3/4 plus 2/4 makes 5/4. Now this is a true answer, but it is an ugly answer. 5/4 is an improper fraction, meaning it's more than one whole. So we should take that one whole out of it and put it into the 7. So 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. So we have 7 plus 1 1/4, which is a total of 8 1/4 cups. Here's a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and we want to know how many more cups of flour are used than sugar in the recipe. Well, the flour is 3.5 cups, and the sugar is 2 1/8 cups. And to find out how much more flour is used, we need to subtract. This problem also has different denominators, and when we want to find common denominators, we find the LCM, and in this case, the LCM of 2 and 8 is 8. So we want denominators of 8. To change 1/2 to a denominator of 8, we multiply by 4. 1/2 is the same as 4/8. And 1/8 just stays 1/8. So 3 minus 2 is 1. And 4/8 minus 1/8 is 3/8. Let's try a harder one. We got 5 1/8 minus 2 2/3. We need to find common denominator, or denominator of 8 and 3. So the least common multiple in this case is going to be 24. To change 1/8 to a denominator of 24, we multiply the numerator and denominator by 3. And to change 2/3 into a denominator of 24, we multiply the numerator and denominator by 8. So now we have the problem 5 and 3/24 minus 2 and 16/24. But we have a problem. We're doing 3/24 minus 16/24, so we need to do some sort of borrowing. One way to deal with this borrowing is to change both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. 5 and 3/24 is the same thing as 123/24 minus 2 and 16/24 is the same thing as 64/24. 123/24 minus 64/24 is 59/24. And this is a true answer, but it's ugly. It's an improper fraction. To change it to a mixed number, which would be a little bit nicer looking, we say there are 2 whole 24s and 59. That's our whole number. And there's a remainder of 11/24. The solution is 2 whole and 11/24.